How's it going, everybody? My name is Bryce Gerard, and this is Inside College Athletics. This is a weekly podcast where we interview anyone who works inside college athletics. The goal of this podcast is to go behind the scenes with people who work in the industry. Our first guest is none other than athletic director at the University of Alabama, Greg Byrne. In this episode, we talk about what it's like to be an athletic director, the current state of college athletics, and what it might potentially look like in 5 to 10 years. I hope you all enjoy the episode, and without further ado, let's get into it.
So obviously, long time in the athletics world, from where you began, years ago to now, what's the key differences, but what's also some things that still remain the same in athletics?
Well, there's been a lot of change in the last 8 to 10 years as we've been under constant litigation pressure. So there's never been a better time to be a student athlete. The way we invest in them and their experience academically, athletically, socially. We're at our place with north of $190,000 a year we spend on the full rights scholarship student athlete, not counting a dollar in salaries.
Right.
And so but at the end of the day, it's really special because you get to be around 18 to 22-year-old young people that are very elite in what they do. To be able to be a student athlete here at the University of Alabama, you're wanting to make sure they understand the opportunity that they have from an educational standpoint while they're here, to not only develop themselves as an athlete, but develop themselves as a student, continue to grow in that manner. And the thing that's still the same is that game days are a time where we bring people together from all different backgrounds and come to celebrate the University of Alabama and the different schools out there, and have a chance to go out and compete and have some really high highs and some at times low lows. And but some of those things won't change no matter what it is.
Absolutely. You mentioned litigation. Obviously, there's a lot going on with that, especially in the most recent ones. What are some big concerns with that, and then what are some things that
maybe I'm correct. Well, we were slow to change from a opportunity for student athletes to use the stage that they're on as athletes here at Alabama, other places,
right,
and have the opportunity to monetize that. So that there's been some positive things from that. The young people are talking more about money management, understanding that at a young age, branding, marketing of themselves, and the value that comes along with the decisions that they make on a daily basis, the impact it can have on all those things. The whole, what is different about college sports is you have recruiting.
right?
Yeah. So you have no other professional, no other sports entity out there acquires the young men and young women for their teams like we do in a college space with recruiting. So because of that, because of recruiting, it's created pressures to have name, image, and likeness opportunities for young men and young women that probably don't have the same market value as what you would have in the pros. For instance, we've had young men that let's just say in general they're like an offensive lineman,
Right.
who most of them in the NFL don't have any marketing deals.
Correct.
Occasionally one does, but not many. That they go and have the chance to say, well, I want to have this amount of money in an NIL deal, when in reality that's probably not what the market would demand in the professional ranks.
Yeah.
And so that, and what has happened is agents have tried to put pressure on the market and tried to say, well, this school's offering this kid this much, and this school's offering this kid this much. What are you going to do? And sometimes it's accurate. A lot of times it's not. And so trying to separate fact and fiction through this process could be challenging at times.
Absolutely. You mentioned, figuring out what's real, what's not, and all the resources that, like you said, teaching these kids financial literacy and all those things that come with it. What, as a university or not as an athletic program specifically, have you been able to one, be really proud of, but also, again, on the flip side, is something that you would like to see pushed a little more?
Well, we have the Advantage Center over at Bryant Denny Stadium that is a dedicated NIL space.
Okay.
There's meeting areas for our student athletes to meet with the representatives and potential marketing organizations out there. We have a green room, we have a video room. We also have space in there for educational seminars. We're doing some of that already. I want us to continue to wrap that up. I personally have interacted with a lot of our kids and saying, I told them the story that when I was 23 years old, I was making $25,000 a year. Regina was pregnant with our first son, who's 28 now. And we started putting away $100 a month when we didn't have $100 to put away.
Right.
And I said over about a three-year period, it was a thing called a Roth IRA. So if you made a certain amount of money or less, you could invest it. And it was tax-free. It was after-tax dollars from your paycheck, but would be tax-free when you eventually cash in on it. And that $3,600 I invested almost 30 years ago is worth something like $50,000 now. And so getting at a young age compounding interest and what that means. Well, all of a sudden, if you have a young man or a young woman with a good, making some money in marketing, and all of a sudden you put away $50,000 a year at this young age, think about what that could be 30 years from now.
Absolutely.
And all of a sudden that could be life-changing money, puts you in a much better position from a retirement standpoint, all the different things. I think with Roth IRAs, you used to be able to take some of it, put it into a house.
Right.
So I want us at Alabama, and we've done some, we're going to have it grow, be on the forefront of really encouraging investment for long-term financial stability for the young men in here. When we have that opportunity.
Yeah.
And so, it's all changing, with the House litigation, depending on what happens with the settlement. I think there could be some opportunities to all of a sudden have more NIL be actually true market-based.
Okay.
And not
Just
yeah,
absolutely. You touched on, the standard, right? It's no secret that Alabama is the standard. As an AD, how do you track with a busy schedule? How do you track who to go get to help you with these these decisions, and how do you recruit?
what do you mean who to go get?
Right. So like your executive AD, your support system. How do you recognize that person knows it?
Well, about half of our executive team was here when I got here, and I've always had the management philosophy that the president of the university chose me, the staff didn't choose me.
Right.
So that's their livelihoods, it's their careers, and I want to see if we can work together. So whether it was at Mississippi State, Arizona, or here at Alabama, I have been, I've usually kept most folks around. Made some tweaks here and there, set hopefully high expectations of what we're doing. But then I've also had a lifetime of experience in this that I have relationships. But even the changes that have happened with our executive team, Dr. Karen Lee, who's our SWC Women's Administrator, she's on her second tour of duty here at Alabama. So I didn't know her beforehand, and we had an opportunity. Tiffany Grimes went to Purdue, and we hired Dr. Lee to come back. Shane Lyons, who I did know, had been here before.
Right.
Went to become the AD at West Virginia, and then we had an opportunity to get him back, and so it was his second tour of duty. People come to Alabama; it's a pretty good place. And so, but like I just was at NACDA the last 2 days in Las Vegas, and part of a big reason why I go is to meet people and say, hey, if something ever happens to our place, who do I have in mind? Because the longer I think I'm in my 18th year of being athletic director. The longer I do this, the more kind of I don't know who the rock stars are coming up.
with athletic, landscape changing, where do you see where we are in 5 to 10 years? What is your idea on where we'd stand?
I'm hoping we can be in a better position from a legal standpoint, so we aren't spending so much of our time on that. I hope we have a legally defensible model through hopefully at some point we're going to have to get some help from Congress to say it's worth having college sports. We have 21 teams in Alabama. Football makes a healthy profit. Men's basketball turns a profit, not a huge one. And then we have 19 sports that lose a lot of money. We lead the country in softball attendance, and we lose well into 7 figures on softball every year. And so if we want to continue we are not going to stop investing in football because the impact that has on the rest of our department. And so if we are going to continue to fund, and this is in Alabama, this is across the country, a lot of these sports, which we're committed to in Alabama, we want to do that, and we will continue to do that. But it as much as people think there's an unlimited supply of money, there's not. I just was sitting in a meeting working on some things for a sport, and we were having to say, no, you can't do this, no, you can't do that, because we don't have the money to pay for it. I'm saying that in Alabama. Right. So I would think that's the case in almost any university across the country. So and we are actually regularly talking about controlling costs and making challenging financial decisions. But I hope that we're in a position in the next 5 to 10 years where we still have extensive broad-based programming that would give a lot of opportunities to a lot of young men and young women. And at the same time, too, I've told our head coaches multiple times already, we are all going to have to adjust to what this new reality is.
Absolutely. Going into back a couple questions when you said, you go to these conventions to still connect on a daily basis and recruiting in a sense. What is your philosophy on recruiting in general? How did obviously Kalen Hoyer, Nate Oates, how does that from start to finish kind of just a brief look at the whole process?
You hope that you don't ever have to replace coaches. You want stability. There's value there. But you always want to have thoughts and be prepared. Obviously, Coach Saban, the goal was for him to keep going as long as he possibly could, and he's going to go down as one of the greatest coaches of all time of any sport. He sat in that chair right there on the day before he retired from Howard, and we just talked about what that looked like, and we were far enough into the conversation, about halfway in. I said, Coach, I know you'd be disappointed with me if I wasn't prepared. He said, absolutely. And so I said, I think it's time I start talking to you what that looks like. And so I was able to talk with him on the work I'd actually had been doing for a number of years, hoping we never have to execute the plan that we were planning and prepared. And that's from identification of coaches, potential coaches. You can imagine for the Alabama head football job that the pool is pretty shallow. But it wasn't just hiring a coach, it was roster retention. It was communicating out there internally, externally, making sure we honored Coach Saban in the process. There's a picture right up there the day of Keelan Bour's press conference, and our president, his wife, and Coach Saban, Miss Terry, and the Bohr family, that Regina, my wife, and I, and people will just see the picture and think, oh, it just kind of appeared. Well, there's a lot that went into it. People, I knew if Coach Saban retired this year, that Keelan DeBoer was going to be a very central focus for us, for me.
Yeah.
He's in Seattle.
Yeah, that's
I wasn't going to just go down to the Greyhound station, jump on a Greyhound, and figure out how to get there. So it's a lot of, and I'm just using that as an example, a lot of details that go into that. When we hired Nate Oates, I've been watching Nate Oates for a few years, just like I've been watching other coaches. And one of the things you do when you're hiring people, whether it's your executive staff, whether it's your head coaches, who's going to give you a skill set and ability to separate yourself from your competition? It's a competitive industry. Everybody's going after it. What are you doing as a young guy trying to figure out, to do this podcast, right? Good for you. I talk to students. I feel like you have a responsibility for people early in their careers. First time I've been asked to do a podcast from a guy that's in your position. Okay, I'm guessing it won't get 1 million views.
It won't.
But still, I I'm not doing this to promote myself here. I'm doing this, we're a university. I'm doing this to hopefully be an opportunity for you to learn and grow.
Absolutely. And we appreciate that. Yeah, we sound like, a little bit into the mindset. You had a quote. Let me find it real quick. Where is it at? You said something along to this statement: athletic director, athletics in general, you're wired for this. Can you just kind of go into a little bit of detail how you have to be wired to be where you're at today?
Well, I wasn't an engineer. I'm not an accountant, although I certainly understand accounting practices, principles. I grew up around it. The picture up there, my dad and I in 1977. It was a high-level fundraiser for the University of Mexico. It was a walkathon. Fundraising is well below this. And that's my I think 4th grade career report about being an athletic director. And so I grew up around it. I played everything. I loved all the sports. I was good at all of it. I wasn't great at any of it. I wasn't good enough to play for Alabama. Very few are. We got 3 practice fields full of kids down there at camp today, and there are maybe 2 kids that have that opportunity, right?
All right.
So because of the environment I grew up in, because of the interest I had in it at a very early age, and having my dad be an athletic director, but then my mom was also, she was a principal and a teacher, then became a principal, but as an educator, but she was a leader too. I just grew up in a leadership environment, and so been very fortunate to have the chance to just have experiences. When I was 45 years old, when I interviewed for the Alabama job, and Dr. Bell of St. John, who was a trustee at the time, I think they looked at me and said, "Man, you look kind of young," and I've got quite a bit more gray hair now. But I said, "Yeah, I'm 45, but in a lot of ways, I have 45 years worth of experience."
That's right.
So, but I also understand this. It's 7 days a week, and for 11 months of the year, I was in Oregon Sunday at track, and the track and field championships. I think the Sunday before that, I was in Oklahoma City with softball. I mean, and that's obviously doing a normal work week on top of that. You got sport this coming weekend. I'll have football recruiting on Saturday, but I actually will get Saturday afternoon and Sunday off. I don't know the last time I had a Saturday afternoon and Sunday off. It may have been December around Christmas break at some point before we went to Pasadena, like on the 26th. And so you just know that's what you're signing up for. And I tell young people, this isn't a job, it's a lifestyle, and you got to be committed to it.
Born into it, mindset-wise too. What is, if you can narrow it down, what is your why? Why do you wake up in the morning?
Yeah,
I'll do it.
My why is because I love being around the university environment. I love being around the young people that are in here that you can still feel like you can make an impact on. I love that this building is filled with great diversity. We check our differences politically, racially, socioeconomic status, all the things that unfortunately divide us at times. And we all come together for the Alabama Crimson Tide or McNeese State or the University of Washington, the University of Maine, across the country, right? And our environment is not perfect because there's not a perfect environment out there, but it's a lot of good. And my why is to just hopefully have some type of impact on the young people, what we do on our fans. Our fan who comes to Bryant-Denny Stadium and sits at the very top of the stadium in the end zone, that may be the only time they ever get to come here. We need to make sure they know that we thank them and appreciate them doing that. And so our why is, that it's cool to be part of something where there's that passion, there's interest with it. But we all have an opportunity on a daily basis, no matter what our job is, no matter who we are, what we do, to make a positive impact on other people as well. And just as far as whether it's, I make sure when I was walking out of my hotel room yesterday in Las Vegas for the convention, and I'm heading to the airport, and engage with the housekeeper, engage with the person working the front desk, engage with your Uber driver, because everybody wants to feel valued. And you have the opportunity to make a positive impact just like you have an opportunity to make a negative impact on somebody. And I'm not perfect at it. I fall short. But do everything you can, because it's amazing when you bring positive energy to the people in your life. It sure makes you feel a lot better too.
Amen. Yeah. Last question before we let you go. Alabama athletic director, 10 years on the road. I know there's no crystal ball, but if you had a crystal ball, are you here? Or are you possibly helping out with college football and the whole entire landscape, SEC commissioner, possibly, whatever the things, opportunities?
Well, I'm 52 years old, and Dr. Bell and our board were just nice enough to give me a 7-year contract, take me to 59 and a half. I want to finish my athletic director career at Alabama if I can help it, right? And they've been really good to me here. We have felt embraced, Regina and I have, from the time we've gotten here. And at some point in my life, I'm going to give it my all every single day.
Yeah.
And at some point in my life, I wouldn't mind not having to be 7 days a week for 11 months of the year. But I want to be part of getting our industry on hopefully solid footing, to where we're not just getting sued left and right. And I also want to be part of where we continue to support our athletes at the level that we expect, that they expect, and that we want to do. And being able to be part of such a special place like the University of Alabama, I'm very fortunate for, and I don't ever take that for granted. And so now my goal is to finish my career. I think when I retire, I'll be able to retire, but I'll still want to hopefully go do something to make an impact on people's lives, whatever that is. One of the things I've talked about doing with Regina is that I love little kids. I don't want to teach necessarily little kids where you're in the classroom every day at that point in your life. But I'm going to go work in the lunchroom,
Okay.
and just be around the kids. And if I don't show up one day, they're not going to fire me for it. But where you still have an impact to, be a positive influence on people's lives. We'll see. I don't know if a lunchroom can hire me or not.
And I think they would.
Yeah. Say, good to meet you.
All right.
Yeah,
so much.
all right.